If this proposed Washington state bill goes through, it's game over for Washington state. The requirements for actually sweeping an encampment they've raised the bar so high, they will never sweep another encampment again if this bill goes through. Let's get into it. Here we go.
House Bill 2489 had its first public hearing yesterday in Olympia. Main sponsor Mia Gregerson, who represents cities like SeaTac, Kent, and Burien, is pushing specific standards in her bill. For one, jurisdictions would have to show that there is adequate alternative shelter before anyone can be removed from living on the streets. And adequate is defined as a shelter that offers to take in pets and family members and partners, and the space would also have to allow people to bring in their personal possessions, and the shelter cannot mandate behavioral health requirements. Opponents say the measure not only takes away local control on how to handle homelessness, but the standards set are essentially impossible to meet in real time for any city, leaving no way to remove anyone from living in a park or sidewalk, for example.
I don't believe there's any shelter system in Washington that would actually meet these standards, which means that no adequate shelter would not exist regardless of how many beds are empty that night. So officers across the state cannot clear block sidewalks, address fire hazards under overpasses, or ensure public access to public spaces.
So you got to basically give the homeless just, partridge in a pear tree at the taxpayers' expense, because we're footing the bill. They got to be able to bring in their personal possessions, got to be able to bring in their partner, whatever that looks like. And then you can't mandate behavioral health requirements. Why not? You know what I mean? Why not? It's like you've got to make this stuff somewhat conditional, because otherwise people won't ever get any better. Supporters say that the statewide standards would prevent more instability of unhoused people who are constantly displaced. Yeah, but that kind of encourages them. Hey, maybe what I'm doing here isn't exactly the way to go. Maybe just doing drugs on the sidewalk and having society just wipe my ass isn't what I should be doing. Maybe this is getting annoying enough where I actually take that next step and get into treatment. Whatever that may be. Half these people, and who knows what the actual percentages is. They are wildly addicted and they are mentally severely unstable. They can't make a decision to do what's best for them. And yet because of civil liberties and civil rights, we want to just let them die on the sidewalk, let them die in the street, let them die in our park. And Portland and Washington state have hundreds of overdose deaths every single year. I mean, it's a known thing. Advocates say that people living on the streets are moved from one place to another without meaningful intervention. Well, then intervene meaningfully, including mandating behavioral health requirements. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. You're like, just let them camp wherever the F they want. Greatest thing ever. That kind of displacement, they argue, also makes it challenging for outreach efforts. What they're saying, House Bill 2489 is grounded in a simple premise. The system should not punish someone for survival conduct unless there is a real alternative available. There's always an alternative available, right? I mean, Andrea Suarez can always find one. When I've been on outreach with her in Dr. Jose Rizal Park, which is probably one of the worst parks in Seattle right now, because it's just an absolute free-for-all for drugs and craziness and prostitutes and just people running around. Hey, drugs are great. But our analysis shows that enforcement routinely occurs when adequate shelter is not available. From the perspective, and this is from somebody with the ACLU. I think the ACLU should just outright be banned. Just get rid of it, ditch it, because it doesn't really help anybody ever. From the perspective of someone living outside, available shelter often exists on paper, not in practice. Disagree. There's always space for you somewhere, right? And treatment, which is what most of these folks need, is housing. That's simple. Here's Chief Daryl Lowe of the Redmond Police. I'm on Belred Road, which is Redmond. I'm going to Redmond in a couple of hours to have dinner with my friend Mike. And so Redmond has concerns over the implementation and impact of the bill. I don't believe there is a shelter system in Washington that would actually meet these standards. And that was my initial thought as well. There's no way they're going to be able to say, oh yeah, here you go. Here is that shelter, because they have specifically picked out the criteria that they know that these shelters cannot meet. They can't meet these. They have a reason why you can't have why we don't have same-sex shelters, right? You know what I mean? You got a single mom with kids. They want to go in their own place. Women want to go in their own place because men in the homeless industrial complex are extremely predatory. Can't bring all your stuff. You're going to bring it, there's only so much space, just all your stuff. Can't bring your pets. Can't have the dog barking away at the other dogs in the area. There are some that have pieces of those, but on top of not having the ability to say, hey, you're an absolute psychopath mentally, we need to get you some help. Then what are you even doing? I don't believe there's a shelter system in Washington that will actually meet these standards, which means there are no adequate shelter would exist, no matter how many beds are empty that night, said Chief Lowe. Okay, that's police chief. He's responsible. He gets the call. Hey, there's homeless people sleeping out there in the park. What are you going to do? He goes out there and, hey, what are you doing? Redmond doesn't allow for a lot of homeless either. Bellevue allows for none. And I know there's a handful kind of just in certain areas and, really heavily wooded areas here and there. But historically, that we don't take Seattle's overflow. That's just not a thing. Chief Lowe goes on to give examples of officers not being able to clear blocked sidewalks, deal with fire hazards, under overpasses or keep public spaces accessible because you don't have shelter that fits this partridge in a pear tree, shenanigan-filled criteria. Measure is currently in the Housing Committee. It has many other lawmakers supporting it, with a total of 24 other lawmakers putting their name on the bill. What is this? What is this in response to? This is in response to the U.S. Supreme Court saying, yep, go ahead, sweep all the encampments if you want. It's not cruel and unusual punishment to sweep somebody who's living urban-style camping. That's not a thing. And then in Washington State, we've got this push, this progressive push to just, hey, man, let people live wherever the F they want. So we've got a new socialist mayor in Seattle, and that's where the vast majority of our homelessness is. And she has basically said there was supposed to be a sweep that was happening. She said, no sweep. We're not sweeping out the Ballard encampment. And she's going to see what other options are for sweeping people. And then you've got this legislation coming in. Washington State could just become even more widespread homeless encampments, because if you don't have the ability to sweep them, you don't have the ability to keep your parks clean. You don't have the ability to keep your streets clean, your sidewalks clean, your downtowns clean. I mean, it's an absolute, this is a huge, huge cluster waiting to happen. And you know what? I'm kind of the thought of, you know what? If this is really what they want, let's not battle them. Let's just give it to them and we'll see what happens. Okay, let's do this social experiment. No sweeps ever again. Homeless people, come to Seattle, come to King County, come to Pierce County, come to Snohomish County, come to, Western Washington. We'll hook you up. We'll give you the hookup. And we'll never sweep you because it's state law. How do you think that'll work out? I think it would work out pretty good for the homeless and for me, because I'd podcast it right here on News for Reasonable People. Should we make this happen? I mean, we're to that point where the ridiculousness of some of these bills, which are just, from the brain dead left, they're absolutely brain dead. You have to sweep. Everybody knows you have to sweep, because otherwise you might as well just say, hey, go ahead and camp wherever you want. And that's what happened during the pandemic. And we saw how homelessness just absolutely exploded. It exploded. Portland is still battling that in their downtown core. They are still battling heavily. Their city is taking a massive whack because of that. I'm going on record and saying, hey, and I've told a lot of people, you're going to look back at the Bruce Harrell era of Seattle and say, gosh, I wish we had Bruce Harrell back. You're gonna say that. You're gonna think that. Oh my gosh, this wouldn't have happened under Bruce Harrell. And Bruce Harrell, he had a lot of flaws. He did a lot of stuff that to me was backwards. But he's also mayor of a big leftist city, and he's going to do some crazy leftist stuff because he has to keep his job, which he didn't do. He didn't get reelected. And instead, Seattle elected a socialist mayor who basically doesn't want to sweep, won't sweep, will let people live wherever they want, and it'll impact business. You'll drive out more business. It'll drive down revenue, and it'll be this never-ending cycle to the bottom. That's what Portland's battling. That's what San Fran's been battling. That's what LA has been battling. West Coast, Best Coast, right? Yeah, to the bottom. We'll see how this one goes. Make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining. Bye for now.